All right, guys, so we got before us here a ladder. So I know that for some places people don't use ladders very much. In Connecticut, we tend to use them quite a bit. This one is a 22-foot ladder. It works pretty well. This is something that you can use inside of somebody's home. It is a little bit heavier, but it does hold up to about 300 pounds, which most of our guys are going to be about that much anyway. So you should feel pretty safe. And what I wanted to do is kind of go through how to open this up and show you how to use it. It's a very valuable tool that you can use, especially inside of some people's attic spaces. Here in New England, a lot of people don't have ladders to their attics. So you'd want to use something like this. So it's pretty straightforward. If you look at these pins here, if you wanted to open this up into an A-frame, you just push these blue knobs in. They'll lock on their own, and then you just open it until it locks again. So once these things are locked back in place, you know that it's safe to climb up on. One of my favorite things to do with one of these is if you have an unlevel ground or you're working on some steps and you need to get up a little bit higher, what you can do is you can adjust one side and leave the other one where it is. All you do is you pull this out like that, and you just extend it up until you hit that next step. Notch it in like that. This is about a foot, and so what you do is if this step was where I'm standing, you set that on the top step and that on the bottom step, and you've got a level ladder, safe for you to get up on. No concerns there. This will go again out to 22 feet. What you want to do is, as far as unfolding it completely, it's the same process. Push these knobs in, and then you stretch it all the way out. And then you can get up a little bit higher. So each side of these will extend. A practice that I do as far as to save my back and not hurt myself. Remember, guys, lift with your knees, not with your back. This can get a little bit cumbersome sometimes, so be real careful with that. Make sure you're using it wisely. When you get it up about this high, one of the things to be concerned about is windows or power lines, right? So if you're carrying this around like this around the house to get a wasp nest and you hit a power line, well, you already know what's going to happen. So avoid those as much as you can. I've had a couple of close calls with windows where if I put it up there just right, or I think it's right and I'm getting pretty close to the window, I don't want to break at any windows. So make sure that you're judging that distance. If you're not sure, play on the safe side, and you'll generally going to be okay. Take down, put up. I'll show you another example of that in just a minute. But as far as the ladder goes, it's pretty straightforward to use. One of those things that you could potentially get yourself hurt on, so be careful, be safe with these things. It's a good tool to have. Really helps get out there and solve the customer's problem, especially if it's a high up their wasp nest. They really appreciate you going out there one time, getting that thing under control, getting it removed, and then out of their hair, I guess. So you'll have one of these on your trucks as well. All right, guys, I wanted to show you just really quickly how to set up the ladder, at least how I would do that. I've been pretty successful that way. First, I'm just going to set it in a place where I can at least leave it. I want to make sure that the ground that I'm going to be putting it on, which is going to be this location, is pretty level and debris free. So we've got some kid toys here. Going to roll this out of the way. Make sure there's nothing underneath it that might get in our way. And then I'm going to set this up. So I want to get it as full extent as I can just to show you how that feels and looks like. So an easy way for me to do that is I'll just tip it down like that until the very last rung. Like that, and then we'll go from there with extending it out. So I learned this from firemen that if you put this, if it's too tall for you to get up high, you can put it against the bottom of the house and use that to hold it still. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it right over here, and that way as I'm pushing it up, it doesn't have a tendency to flip back on me. Once it gets up here, it's a little bit easier to maneuver. So I'm just going to move the bottom back like that, and you've got yourself a ladder that's set in place. Keep in mind that I can still go a little bit higher. From this setting, you can extend it all the way out if you want. Many times it might be easier, depends on your strength, just to be able to pull it up like this when you're holding it here. But again, you have to be real careful so you don't lose control of it and have it fall back on you. So you can adjust it that way, lock it into place, keep going up with it that way. But as you can see, it gets pretty high. As far as where to place the base, you don't want it to be too far out because it's going to slide out underneath you, or if you're in the middle of it, it's going to bend a little bit. So you want to have it probably about 4 to 5 feet away from the home, depending on how high it is. But you kind of want to be a little bit straight up and down, but also not bent too far. I'd say that that's probably a good angle away from the bottom or the base of the house. All right, guys, so I have this in place here where I want to climb up it and show you kind of a couple of things that I'll do to make sure that the ladder is secure. First, before you climb the ladder, please make sure that everything is locked where it's supposed to be. Make sure that these are locked in the right spot. Your blue spots here are locked in the right spot, and even up there, because you might get up there and it'll buckle on you. So mine, I've checked mine is secure. So I'm going to climb up there. One of the things that a lot of people are scared about is that this ladder is going to tip backwards, and it's a legitimate fear. I have it sometimes. I just want to make sure that you're set the ladder up properly. So if the bottom of the ladder is too close to the foundation of the home, you're going to have more of a potential to tip backwards. And so you'll play around with just a little bit. Usually 3 to 4 feet, 5 feet sometimes will be enough. I've got mine out about 4.5 to 5 feet. So I'm going to climb up this. I'm just going to show you something to help you build confidence in the event that you're a little bit nervous. So I checked the base to make sure that it's secure. It's not going to tip left or right. I'm going to climb up here pretty high to the top. You can see that there's a little bit of give in here, but not too much to be alarmed. Keep in mind that it does hold a 300-pound person. It's rated for that, so it'll take a little bit of abuse. But if I get up here to the top, where a lot of people will get a little bit nervous, what I've encouraged people to do in the past is to take the ladder just as an exercise. I'd always have somebody there with me, or I'd be there, to try to get it to tip back, try to get it to fall off the side of the house. And what's surprising is it's really hard to do that, right? So you'd have to jerk pretty hard to get it to stand up straight and then tip backward. So if you have a fear of tipping backward, generally if you set up the ladder right, you're not going to have that fear. And then you feel pretty good. I always keep an arm locked someplace to make sure that if I do lose my grip, I have something to catch myself. So what will happen is that if people get a little bit overconfident on a ladder, they're going to find themselves falling. So even if you spend a lot of time on the ladders and you feel really safe with it, always be cautious, always move slow. And if customers start to make fun of you, just say, hey, better safe than sorry. I don't want anybody falling off of a ladder. That's a terrible way to get hurt. So again, if you're using the ladder properly, you're going to be fine, you're going to be safe. And if you have that dust stick that goes about 20 feet and your web pole that goes another 18 feet, I mean, you'll be able to get up to most points on a home, and I don't think you'll have to use a ladder very often, but be prepared to do that and become comfortable with that. If you need additional assistance, just talk to me. We can go out together and figure it out. Okay, I'm going to give you another example of opening a ladder and setting it up. If you can see, I don't know if John, if you can look up that high, but this is a higher peak. This would be a situation or a scenario where you'd probably end up using a ladder like this. And so I'm going to extend this as far as I can. I'm going to straighten this out, make it just a little bit easier on me. Make sure that it's locked up in place so it's not going to slip away. I'm going to do this other side. All right, because this is a taller ladder, I'm going to put that base to the bottom of the foundation wall. I'm just going to walk it up step by step, let the foundation wall hold it where I want it to be until it's straight up. Just going to take it now, back it up about 5 feet away at full length. Which is probably going to be pretty close. And check to make sure that it's level here on the ground. Make sure that it's not going to tip left or right. You should be good. Check my links, make sure everything's locked into place, which they are. This ladder is now ready to be climbed up.